So to begin, why is this Memorandum of Understanding happening with all these concessions? It's because we've reached kind of like the end of this runway of war, and the U.S. was facing a blocked Strait of Hormuz, nearly exhausted oil reserves, and Iran still has intact missile stockpile, and the Americans and their allies were running low on these incredibly expensive and hard to place interceptors. So that wasn't looking good. Time was not on their side. So the deal reflects that reality, not the other way around. And look, I get it. Losing is humiliating. These warhawks feel humiliated, but they're also in denial about the fact that they have lost, except for, I guess, the warhawks like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. They seem to understand the position they're in. But Trump's massive concessions to Iran, they're not some sort of mystery. They're not some sort of betrayal. He was happy to pursue this war. These concessions reflect the actual balance of power after a U.S.-Israeli defeat. This is what losing looks like in negotiating terms. And I will say Israel is still going to try to torpedo this deal through Lebanon. Like I mentioned during the segment with Naveed, just today, the Israelis carried out drone strikes in the south. They killed at least 3 people. And that comes on top of strikes from yesterday that killed 4 people. So the Israelis are still bombing the south of Lebanon. They're still insisting that they will never leave. In fact, today, the Israeli army released a map showing their so-called security zone, which is a huge chunk of southern Lebanon, that they say that they're never going to leave and they're going to continue to occupy indefinitely. And I want to remind everybody, the scale of the war on Lebanon has killed now at least 3,912 people, wounded another 11,873, displaced more than 1 million since March 2nd. And I say that because there are people who are trying to make the case that, okay, fine, let the Iran war end, but please let Israel keep bombing Lebanon because it's necessary for security. You call 4,000 dead people security? I can't curse, but I want to so badly. Okay, so let's talk about the Memorandum of Understanding, which you may have heard different parts of it, but basically I want to talk about the points that matter, which are almost all of them. But basically, the one involving the Strait of Hormuz, I think, is so important. It reopens the strait toll-free for 60 days. But after that, Iran gets to negotiate with Oman over who controls it like long-term and the way they control it. Now, this is a big defeat for the U.S. Let's remember, the Strait of Hormuz was open before the war, and Iran was not controlling it. And ships flowed through it freely, right? And the Trump administration, the people planning this war were so stupid. They actually said later on, we didn't think they'd close the Strait of Hormuz, except, for decades. That is one of the reasons the U.S. never went to war with Iran, because they knew that could lead to them closing the Strait of Hormuz and give them all this leverage. That is exactly what happened. It was only closed after they launched the war, and then reopening the Strait of Hormuz became the goal of a war that started with an open Strait of Hormuz. So the fact that they had to call it quits here is such a defeat. And the fact that Iran's going to get to make money on it is a defeat for the U.S. Another defeat for the U.S., the frozen funds. The U.S. for a long time now has been seizing Iranian assets and freezing them so Iran can't access their own assets. There's tens of billions of dollars in assets that are frozen by the Americans. This is theft. A significant portion of those assets are set to be released in a final deal. And in Trump's own words, quote, "It's not our money, it's their money." So even he gets that, because this is being portrayed by figures, including inside the Democratic Party, as being some sort of a payoff to our enemies in Iran by American taxpayers. That is inaccurate. That is a blatant lie. That is this is purely giving Iran back its own money. And I think the number being floated around is like $24 billion in frozen assets, but there's actually way more frozen assets than even that, but we'll see how that plays out. Now, the other point of contention that the warhawks are angry about in this Memorandum of Understanding is $300 billion reconstruction fund. Now, this is a private investment vehicle funded by mostly Gulf, Asian, and African companies and U.S. companies, not government money. Iran only gets access if it meets certain commitments after the final 60-day deal goes into effect, which is going to be the next 60 days of negotiations. This is the one that people keep trotting out saying, Trump is giving Iran $300 billion in your taxpayer money. That is a lie. This is in an investment fund by companies, not your taxpayer money. And Iran deserves this money because America spent a very, very long time bombing America and Israel, bombing Iranian civilian infrastructure that needs to be rebuilt in a war of aggression. So moving on from that, and I'll show some I'll talk a bit more about that because I want to play clips related to that. Another defeat for the Americans. And I promise you, this is worth going through. Sanctions. The final deal commits the U.S. to ending all sanctions. We'll see what actually happens with that, but either way, there's immediate oil export waivers upon signing. This is a huge defeat. It is a complete reversal of the maximum pressure campaign that has been pursued by American warhawks for the last decade, sanctions against Iran for the last 40 years. They have been trying to strangle this country and suffocate it for decades to try to overthrow the government. So to have to reverse course on even some of those is a big deal, and that is a humiliating defeat for the U.S. It shows you the position, the balance that we're talking about here. The U.S. would not sign this memorandum of understanding unless they were desperate. Now, next is the nuclear program. Iran, of course, reaffirms no nuclear weapons. That's a 50-year-old commitment. So if you want to call that a win for America, fine. But they also were against building nuclear weapons before and had a commitment to that. Their issue of enrichment, of zero enrichment, is not mentioned in this memorandum. And there's basically leeway now, especially based on Trump's comments, that Iran may be able to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes. This is something that's going to be negotiated over the next 60 days. And of course, the Americans are talking about shipping out or destroying uranium, but we're hearing, the Iranians say, actually, we're probably not going to do that. So we'll see how that plays out in the negotiations over the next 60 days. But basically what's in this memorandum, because of the language that's not in it, matters and is part of the defeat by the Americans. Ballistic missiles. What's amazing here is ballistic missiles are not even addressed in this memorandum. And that matters because if you look at any demand, any complaint by American warhawks about Iran, one of them is their ballistic missiles program. Why? Because they just spent the last 3 months firing ballistic missiles at regional American allies who were firing at them and the Israelis. And in addition to drones, but these ballistic missiles have demonstrated to be very important for Iran's defense capabilities. And the Americans and Israelis do not want Iranians to have defensive capabilities. They want them to just be like another, vassal state that is, a client of the Americans that's incapable of defending themselves or ever challenging American or Israeli hegemony. So not having this in there is a win for the Iranians and a defeat for the Americans. And I will be playing a clip of Donald Trump talking about that. It's really funny. I already talked about Lebanon, but I just want to note the official text commits both sides to, quote, ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon as part of their ending the war on all fronts. Now, this is going to be, I think, the most vulnerable point of this memorandum because of the Israelis saying that they are not bound by this memorandum or this deal. They've actually said that, and that they refuse to withdraw. So this is a live fight that's happening in real time. It's going to continue to happen. Like I said, the Israelis have been, bombing Lebanon despite this memorandum. Now that it's been signed, they're still bombing. So we'll see how Iran actually responds to that, or if the Americans take Iran's warnings about those violations seriously and actually do at some point rein in the Israelis. But I will say the intensity of violence in Lebanon has definitely decreased. And as for the enforcement of this memorandum, there was no real binding mechanism in the interim, but the final deal is said to, in the memorandum says it will be endorsed by the UN Security Council as a resolution, which is what would make it binding. And then, that the whole thing kind of runs on the threat of renewed bombing because Trump is still or resumed bombing because Trump is still making those threats out loud. But a part of the text does say we won't threaten each other anymore. So I guess he's already violated the memorandum. I don't know if you saw him yesterday at G7. He was like, if they don't do what I want, I'm going to bomb them again. So, we'll see how this plays out. As for in Lebanon, Sheikh Naim Qassem, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, actually called this memorandum a big victory. He thanked Iran for tying the Lebanese front to the broader deal and forcing the Israelis to stop, and said that the war's real goal of toppling the regime, the Iranian government, failed. He said in his televised address that the bite of American tyranny was broken and Washington's colonialist project for Iran failed. And then on negotiating with Israel, he said that talks should be limited strictly to mutual security. Any disarmament proposal will not pass. Domestic issues, weapons, defense strategy stay off the table entirely. This is important that he's saying this, by the way, because of the fact that Hezbollah is going to come out in a stronger position if Iran comes out in a stronger position. And we haven't heard much from the Lebanese authorities, who for the past 2 months have been insisting, we don't want to be a part of the ceasefire deal with Iran. Now they're really quiet, and people in Lebanon are feeling very thankful that Iran, because of Iran that Lebanon is not being carpet bombed right now. We'll see how long that lasts, but it is noted by a lot of the population that that's what's taking place. So this is certainly going to shift the dynamics and the power structure in Lebanon away from the sort of pro-American anti-resistance camp. The Israelis are having a meltdown. A few entertaining examples. Channel 14, which is this like very pro-Netanyahu channel. It's like a propaganda channel for him. It was for Trump until now. It's one of its biggest hosts, this guy Yinon Magal. He's the host of a show called The Patriots. He called Trump a loser, called J.D. Vance scum, and accused Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner of selling out their brothers in Israel and then derided them as Jew boys. And because he derided them as Jew boys, it ended up drawing public condemnation from the ADL, which says that the remark demeans and degrades Jews, which is true. But also you rarely see that kind of conversation from the ADL. And then you've got, a bunch of other people, an opposition leader calling Netanyahu weak, ill, isolated, lacking influence. Like they're all attacking Netanyahu now. Naftali Bennett has piled on, calling the government incapable, using the F word, saying Netanyahu
There's such a
has
genocidal
no
society. I'm so sorry, but it's just like, you just like the outrage when people can't keep committing genocide is like, what the
And this is not a clip of Israelis, but I want to show part of the kind of meltdown we're seeing from their biggest supporters in the U.S. So basically, there's this guy called John Podhoretz. Is that how you pronounce his name? It's an odd last name. I can never really pronounce it right. And by the way, this is clip 3. I'm telling that to Matt, who's in the booth, taking care of everything. I want to play clip 3 just to set it up. This is John Podhoretz talking like this is a big Trump supporter, huge Israel supporter. Okay. Like Israel comes first and foremost above all. And he's the editor of Commentary magazine. If that means anything to you, Commentary is a very right-wing neoconservative rag. And I want to play his meltdown because what he said is very important. Clip number 3.
Trump, the crazy lunatic psychotic who doesn't care about lives and will do anything and do anything, could not bear the idea of putting a boot on the ground anywhere in Iran, and could not bear the idea of a single American possibly being taken hostage, which I understand. I'm not saying that either of those is a good thing, but if you're going to go to war, you have to put boots on the ground. Everyone in the military has volunteered to put their lives on the line for their country, and that the country itself may have to sacrifice in the form of wildly higher oil prices. Trump, the crazy lunatic psychotic who doesn't care about lives and will do anything.
Yeah, so there you have. I just couldn't believe he was like, and then at one point he goes, people join the military voluntarily. Like they sign up to die. So like if you're going to go to war, you got to go all the way. So he's like very upset Trump didn't do a ground invasion. So like that's the kind of reaction Trump is getting from like these psychos. I also want to play a clip of Donald Trump himself talking about the kind of like Israel meltdown. He's sort of addressing it. He talks a little bit about Lebanon as well. So can we play clip number 1?
We had this deal done. You had a deal that was going to give them legally a nuclear weapon. And if that happened, Israel would have been blown away. And in all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu, who happens to be a good man, gets a little excited sometimes. But he happens to be a very good man. We've had an amazing partnership. He's been an amazing prime minister. We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah. But it's been an amazing partnership. But he will say, we're the big partner and he's the very small partner, and that's true. So he came to the country and he begged Barack Hussein Obama, the president, not to do the JCPOA.
So there you have Trump saying a lot of interesting things, including we're the big partner, they're the small partner. Like, know your place, buddy.
Yeah.
And all of you who are behind. And he's right. I mean, look, he's right. Like, just from a very, like, even strongman perspective, know your place. Like, you are not in charge of the U.S. We say the war is over. Get in line. Now, is this theater so that Israel can be bad cop and U.S. can be good cop? I'm actually not entirely sure, because Israel is trying to obstruct a deal that the Americans do seem to be pretty desperate for. And we'll get to it. We'll show some clips about why. I want to really quickly, though, address Democrats. Because they've been doing something very dangerous. Like, you want to go after Trump for starting this war? Absolutely. This was a illegal war of aggression unprovoked in the middle of diplomatic negotiations with Iran. That should have never happened. Go after him for that. Do not go after him for ending it. But that's what they're doing. They're going after him for making any concessions. Senator Amy Klobuchar, failed presidential candidate because she doesn't know how to speak, tweeted out yesterday she's referring to the $300 billion reconstruction fund. Remember, that is not American taxpayer money. But she says, with $300 billion, we could end homelessness, fund cancer research for 40 years, and give every child free pre-K for over 7 years. Instead, Trump is sending it to Iran. This is not America first, not even close. Amy,
you okay?
This is not taxpayer money. Yeah, right there. No, she's not. Amy's not okay. Because the thing is, all those things she just said that we could fund with $300 billion aren't even things she supports. Like, she doesn't even support spending public funds on, as far as I know, on like free pre-K. I've never seen her being like, we should end homelessness right now. And also, it's just a dumb argument because this is not American taxpayer money. Meanwhile, you know what is American taxpayer money? The tens of billions of dollars we've given to Israel to commit genocides. She doesn't seem to. I've never seen her complain about that. Have you, Zoe?
No.
So, yeah. So Senator Amy Klobuchar, shut up. You fail. Susan Rice, who was, I think, the former national security director under Barack Obama, said this is the biggest national security blunder in decades. But she was basically referring to the deal. I'm like, girl, go after the war, but why the deal? Rep. Adam Schiff, hard to imagine a more thorough capitulation. Actually, if you keep this war going, you're going to have to capitulate harder. So either capitulate a little bit now or capitulate more later, because time is not on your side, Mr. Imperialist Adam Schiff. Senator Chris Murphy, this agreement looks essentially like surrender. If that's how you feel, fine, but wait until after so we don't go back to war. Do not encourage Donald Trump to continue this war because surrender. This is an egomaniac. Do not do that. Go after him for starting the war. But like, Chris Murphy is so upset that we're going to unfreeze funds. And then we've got Senator Cory Booker, a dependable hawk. We're going to be releasing billions of dollars to this enemy. Okay. All right.
People
Cory Booker,
still
so you want to
think
keep the war going?
That like Iran's missiles can somehow hit California like that, which Trump's own press secretary had to say was not true. But Rania, something just came in from a JD Vance's press conference that I just want to read because it is a direct response to not only these Democrats, but also the Israelis. So JD Vance was giving, I think it was in a press conference, he said, this is very funny. Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. Okay, that's a lot, first of all.
Correct.
If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. So, I mean, that's just incredible because, first of all, JD Vance also knows how unpopular Israel is right now. Like, he has a mind and he has eyes, I guess. And he is aware of what, supporting Israel means. And they're checking him. And I just think it's an important message to all of those America First people saying that Israel is dictating. Like, no, let's be, So
I love that he said that. I mean, look, but
when he's
kudos
right,
to JD Vance. Kudos to JD Vance. If I were this administration, if I had the politics they have, I would be livid. I would be livid that like these ungrateful man children, man babies are like whining like this. It's like,
let us genocide more. Like, we want to genocide more. It's disgusting.
It didn't work out. Yeah, it's like it's like insubordination.
Yeah.
To the highest degree.
Know your place. You literally are getting free weapons and free money, and they're getting free healthcare that we don't have. So
yeah. No, it's crazy. I'm glad JD Vance said that. And they trot out JD Vance whenever they're serious, because notice JD Vance disappeared during much of the height of this war because he didn't want to be connected to it. And this is not to say JD Vance is a great guy. He's an opportunistic hack. Who was just like, will be a yes man if it means maintaining power. But he was, according to the New York Times, like basically one of two people in the room, in the Situation Room, who were like, that's not a good idea, guys. This is not going to work out. Not on board. Because this is bad. Like, objectively speaking, if you're an imperialist, there's everything points to this being a wrong move. Like, there's a reason that the U.S. hadn't gone to war against Iran for all this time, but Trump came into power and his administration was lined with all these like psychotic neocon hawks who finally got their like wet dream, and it went disastrously wrong. And now here they are having to capitulate and make concessions, and Democrats need to stop attacking it. If you're gonna attack Trump for going to war, just shut up otherwise. It's completely absurd. I want to play a couple more clips of Trump, because yesterday at G7, he just said all these things that really are logical and shouldn't be shocking, but you don't usually hear in America. This is the one thing, the one amusing thing about Trump. He's a horrible person. He's basically a fascist, terrible to have in power, but every once in a while he gives you theatrical gold. So I want to play clip 7, talking about Iran's right to have weapons. Clip 7. Clip 7, where are you?
The issue of our country.
Calling it there.
So we'll be working on a parallel effort with the Gulf nations to address non-nuclear issues such as the conventional ballistic missiles, which we'll be talking about, and support. I mean, they have to have some because other people have some. You got to have some. Somebody said you shouldn't give them more. And I have guys. I like some of these guys. But I don't think they're smart. Sir, you shouldn't let them have any missile. I said, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to let Saudi Arabia have missiles, but they can't have them? Yes, sir. It doesn't work that way, It doesn't work that way. And missiles aren't the problem. They hurt a little location, but they don't blow up the planet. So the Gulf nations will address the non-nuclear issues
So, Zoe, on the right to missiles, I want to show a clip from CNN, one of their main anchors. I think her name is Katie Collins. Is that right? She's also very upset that Iran, that missiles aren't addressed. And she's like interrogating this Republican member of Congress who like is trying to follow the Trump line. And she's very upset about it. So can we play clip number 8? Because this is worth it, guys.
Senator, are you okay with Iran having missiles?
I'm hesitating. I'd prefer that they not. I certainly don't want them to have long-distance missiles. I don't want them to have nuclear-armed missiles. I would prefer they didn't. But I don't think that's the key issue here. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves. And I just kind of come back to the big picture here, is that the Middle East countries like this agreement.
You think Iran needs to be able to defend itself?
I do. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves. Otherwise, we turn this into a forever war. You're never going to get them short of boots on the ground of surrendering everything, an unconditional agreement, if you will. But again, what I'm getting at here is this agreement has the support of most of the countries in the Middle East, and I think that's going to give it more of a long-lasting relationship, a long-lasting success as well.
She's so upset.
Oh, by the way,
she's so upset.
Caitlin Collins. It's Caitlin Collins, by the way. Sorry, I sounded like I know her. I'm like, Katie, I don't know her. And if I did, I'd be like, Katie, chill. out. How much are they paying? How much did Bari Weiss already take over CNN? Like, what the hell is that about?
I just also want to say that it does reflect this kind of imperialist hubris where you think you are the only country that matters. Nobody else should have weapons. Nobody else should be able to defend themselves. Nobody's sovereignty matters. And everything that matters is just the U.S. being safe and the U.S. being able to go wherever it wants, take the resource it wants. And like that is an extension of like what she said is an extension of that. Is
I want to also play another clip of Trump. It's clip number 5. And this is a response to all the people saying that you're going to give them American taxpayer money. How dare you? It's a lie. And he should continue saying this line to his detractors because it's a blatant lie. And this is actually one of the talking points that worries me because it's a very Republican talking point. It's the one they attacked Obama with. And the more you say it, the more it might actually work to torpedo a deal like this. So let's listen to clip number 5.
Explain, though, what the difference is between giving Iran U.S. dollars and unfreezing U.S. dollars for.
Well, the unfreezing, that's an easy one to answer. We have taken a lot of their money, and we have their money. We have taken their money. It's not our money. It's their money, and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we're going to have to give it back.
So he understands sanctions and freezing assets. Unfortunately, the majority of the press corps refuses to understand that the U.S. actually does this to a lot of countries, and the U.S. has frozen billions of dollars of people's assets because they set up the international financial architecture to be able to do this precisely, to punish countries when they step out of line and assert their sovereignty, and then say, okay, well, we're going to freeze your gold. We're not going to let you access the money that you have.
Your money, your resources. That's what they did to Venezuela. They stole Venezuela's gold and gave it to Juan Guaido, who wasn't actually the president of Venezuela. I mean, it's completely insane. And there he is just admitting it. And it is shocking. You're just you wonder, I'm are you a propagandist or are you stupid? Or when you see these reporters behaving this way. I wanted to play also, so you heard the weapons issue. Iran, I mean, yeah, they're going to have weapons, right? We can't, Saudi Arabia has weapons, but we're going to tell Iran they can't. There was also a similar take about nuclear enrichment on this from Donald Trump, which I was really surprised to hear. So can we play clip number 2, the nuclear enrichment riff?
It is a little hard, though, when you say that somebody wants it, other people have it, other adjoining states have it, and you're not letting them have it for purposes of electricity and things like that. It's always a little tough. You have to use a little common sense, please.
I mean, yes, that I don't I have nothing else to add other than literally Israel has nuclear weapons, and Iran isn't even trying to get a nuclear weapon. They just want nuclear enrichment for peaceful purposes, as they have a right to because they're a party to the nuclear treaty.
Also,
so they have a right to nuclear enrichment.
Trump would not have to answer these questions had he not started an unprovoked and illegal war on Iran. So it's also important. If he had not withdrawn from the JCPOA in 2018, he would not have to be answering the same questions that were raised at that time. But instead, he withdrew.
Oh my God.
It's
you know what we need? We need a side-by-side of Trump before and then Trump after responding to Trump's propaganda before. To see it, because he's made the opposite argument before, which were lies, and now he's just being honest because it behooves him with ending this war. Now, last clip I want to play speaks to why he needs to end this war and why he's subjecting himself to this level of humiliation. Let's play clip number 4, please. Clip number 4.
Now, if I did the opposite, if I went out and continued to bomb them for another 4, just bomb the hell out of them, I'd get bad press on that. No, there's nothing I can do. But what this does is it allows the ships to go. If we keep bombing, those ships won't be going. And you're talking about $500, $600, $700 million a day. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. That's why the world is okay. It's liquid. It's fine. Also, we run out of reserves in about 4 weeks. There are reserves all over the world, and we would really run out. And there'll be a time when you wouldn't be able to get it. And you want to see bedlam? So for all those so-called geniuses that want to show me how smart they are, Ask them, why didn't they blow up General Soleimani? Ask that of the general and a couple of other people that I like very much, but boy, are they wrong.
Boy, are they wrong.
Boy, are they wrong. But no, I mean, he literally just explained to you that, like, Iran shut the Strait of Hormuz. It's screwing the global economy. And if we do it for another 4 weeks, it's going to get worse. So we have to do this. We have to sign a deal with them. And that is why, to go full circle, this is an American-Israeli defeat. The Israelis are in denial and also so obsessed with killing, they don't care even about like pleasing their masters, which is actually quite self-destructive for them. And all of these warhawks in the US, they're just insane. I mean, what's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. They literally think that if you just keep bombing them, eventually you'll win. And no, Iran has the opportunity and the ability to shut down the global economy. Trump got to a point, I think he recognized that pretty early on, kept trying the bombing thing. It didn't work with the runway time they had. And now it's like, you got to call it a quits or the world goes under. So there you have it. That is my rants, several rants. Zoe, do you want to add anything about, there's one more thing I want to show, but about any of those clips or what we just watched or anything that I said that you disagree with? Bring it on.
Well, it's rare that I
snorted. Disagree with it. We don't. Yeah, me and Zoe are an echo chamber, to be honest.
But I just do want to point out that on Tuesday, a collaboration was launched between Lockheed Martin and General Motors to ramp up U.S. weapons production in response to exactly what brought about, in part what brought about an end to this war, which is depleted stockpiles, because actually to fight a war, you need things. You need things to fire.
You need the things. I like that. You need things. You
need all of that. You need the Iron Dome, and the Iron Dome actually has components to it. It is not a permanent structure, despite the name. No, but really, I think this is a quite important development because I think a lot of people, it is a defeat for the U.S. and Israel. But as we spoke about earlier with Prem regarding this Section 224 and trying to, lock in this collaboration between the U.S. and Israel, obviously people are feeling the defeat, but they're planning for the future. And that's why there's this kind of impetus to ramp up weapons production. The Europe G7 meeting just wrapped up. The European Council is meeting, I think, tomorrow. They're going to approve a budget for the next 7 years, which sees an increase in military spending. And so I think it's really important that while we have to be very excited that this was a defeat for the U.S. and Israel and their blind killing rampages, this doesn't mean those are over and that they are definitely recalculating and planning their next steps. And as always, looking towards China, looking towards the kind of bigger enemy, which in a lot of ways they were preparing for. So we have an article about that on breakthroughnews.org. Please check it out. It is a very important update because it does, again, point to what is the direction of the U.S. in the future, which is not peace, but continuing this drive towards militarism and, $1 trillion a year of military spending.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, like when I say this is a big American defeat, it's a defeat in the sense that the Americans didn't achieve any of their goals. Actually they came out of this, Iran came out of this in a stronger position, obviously with a lot of sacrifice and loss. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that the Americans have suddenly lost the ability to exact huge amounts of destruction. And you know what? A lot of American adversaries who are smaller and weaker than Iran, they don't have the leverage of the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. Cuba does not have a Strait of Hormuz that it can block to try to get concessions from the Americans. Neither does Venezuela. And a lot of these other countries at the other side of American imperialism. So yes, this doesn't mean like U.S. empire is over, but it's definitely a turning point for sure. And actually might produce an even more violent pattern from U.S. empire because, it's like a cornered animal gets defeated. How does it behave? Starts to thrash about and lash out even more. I want to end this segment, which I know was a bit longer than we intended, but so much to get through, on the New York Post front page. The New York Post said, there it is. Trump devastated Iran. Now he hits them with a love bomb. The president says Islamic regime not radical. His deal showers mullahs with cash and no sanctions. I'm like, what is even happening? It's like they still love Trump, but they're very upset with him.
Very upset.
That's like it's a wild front page. Love bombed by Iran. Love bombed by Donald Trump.
Well, what they're forgetting in this therapy speak is that love bomb is just the first step, but usually disappearance and kind of betrayal is the
ghosting.
second step.
Right, extreme emotional terrorism comes after love bombing.
Yeah, so
nothing good. So hopefully Iran doesn't fall for the love bombing.
No, I don't think they will, and I'm glad that we had Naveed on to talk about this kind of sentiment of people are. It is, they're very. I think within Iran, they're very clear that the U.S. The only way they were able to agree to this deal was Iran showing kind of this hardened stance and not backing down at any moment in this war. And I think they know that's what it takes to make the United States actually make concessions. So I don't think they're going to change their strategy anytime soon.
On that note, Zoe, we have reached the end of our show, which went longer than anticipated because if you get me started, I don't stop.
And if you get me started, I continue with you.
Girl power hour. What was supposed to be like a 15-minute segment definitely became like a 45-minute one. But I'm okay with it because this is a huge story. And deserves a breakdown. It is historic. And we'll continue to follow developments and bring you more news. Tomorrow, the Americans and Iranians are supposed to be meeting in Switzerland for the first day of these 60-day negotiations. So those negotiations are not going to go smoothly. There's going to be a lot of hiccups throughout. And the Israelis will continue to try to be spoiler in addition to Donald Trump responding to the endless stream of warhawks across the partisan aisle, bipartisan warhawks, trying to come after him for daring to compromise with another country.